Another controversial issue about Yeong Jo is the death of Sado Saejar. He was born in February in 1735 and passed away in July in 1762 at 27 years old. Because he was born when Yeong Jo was 42 years old, Yeong Jo rejoiced at the birth of his son. When he turned 3 years old, Yeong Jo had his son start to be educated, and Yeong Jo was very passionate about his son's education. Nevertheless, Yeong Jo was very stern to his son, and Sado Saejar was becoming unconfident about himself. Although Yeong Jo wanted his son to be a king, who had a high level of academic knowledge to overpower government officials, while growing, Sado Saejar was getting interested in martial arts, to the point where he wrote a book about martial arts. According to some records, when Sado Saejar was 15 and 16 years old, he was well-built and robust, enough to be able to wield a heavy sword, Do, which was used by Yeong Jo, the 17th king. Nevertheless, Yeong Jo scolded his son for his appetite for food, obesity, and appearance, because Sado Saejar failed to satisfy his expectation that he had about his son. In particular, after his grandson, Lee San, who would become the 22nd king, Yeong Jo, was born, he had a bigger interest in educating his grandson than his son. In 1749, when Sado Saejar was 15 years old, Yeong Jo ordered Sado Saejar to do Dae-ri Cheongjong, and he was harshly criticized in public by Yeong Jo often. Sado Saejar may have suffered from unendurable stress. He was afraid of his father, and the relationship between them was irreversibly worsening. In 1757, when In Won-Won-hu and Jong Sung-Won-hu, who had taken care of Sado Saejar, passed away, he started to show the symptoms of mental disorder. According to Dae Chun-rok, he murdered about 100 people in the palace, and there are records about his mental illness in Jo Sun Wong Jo Sil Rock and Han Jung Rock written by his wife. He even knocked his beloved concubine, Bing Ae, to death in 1761, due to his insanity. Hence, it is assumed that Sado Saejar may have suffered from anxiety, phobia, and obsession. He was afraid of wearing clothes, since wearing formal clothes meant seeing his father. He held feasts with female monks and prostitutes and spent a lot of money on extravagance and going sightseeing. In 1762, Na Kyung-un accused Sado Saejar of his wrongdoings, delinquencies and potential rebellion, and Yeong Jo became furious with his son because he got to know his son's unacceptable behaviors that he had not known. Decisively, the biological mother of Sado Saejar, Yeongbin Lee Si, asked Yeong Jo to kill his son for the royal family and his grandson. Eventually, Sado Saejar became confined in Daeju by Yeong Jo, and the father-in-law, Hong Bong-han, who was the biggest supporter of Sado Saejar, also gave up on him to protect his family. The wife, Hai Kyung-gung Si, also kept silent about the death of his husband to protect the son who would become Yeong Jo. Even though Sado Saejar smashed Daeju and escaped from it, he was put into Daeju again, and Yeong Jo even nailed Daeju, in order not to allow his son to escape from it. Sado Saejar was left without any water and food under the hot summer sun. 8 days later, he was found dead. It is called Yimo Wabyun, and it is still remembered as one of the most tragic events in the history of Joseon. Although Sado Saejar died, Yeong Jo fulfilled his filial duty for his father and mother. In his coronation, Yeong Jo declared that he was the son of Sado Saejar.
안녕하십니까, 잉코스토리입니다. 구독과 좋아요 부탁드리고요. 구독하시면 더 많은 잉코스토리 영상들을 보실 수 있습니다. 감사합니다. 안녕하십니까, 잉코스토리입니다. 구독과 좋아요 부탁드리고요. 구독하시면 더 많은 잉코스토리 영상들을 보실 수 있습니다. 감사합니다.